võidame, nii või nii.
One day, we will win anyway. These were the words of Heinz Volk, an Estonian artist, cartoonist and freedom activist, spoken in 1988 at the dawn of what would become known as the Singing Revolution. Across the Baltics, 2 million people joined hands in a human chain, stretching from Tallinn to Vilnius, 600 kilometres of unity. It was one of the biggest peaceful protests in history. Her power came not from shouting, but from harmony. Between the years 1988 and 1991, calls for independence from the Soviet Union and self-determination only grew louder. And on August 20th, 1991, the USSR's flag was lowered over Estonia for the final time. With independence secured from the Soviet Union, Estonia began to look west. By 2004, they were a fully fledged member of the European Union, securing their foothold as the tech giant of Europe. Estonia today is a country of 1.3 million, 25% of whom identify as Russian. It stands as the crossroads between west and east. Looking west, shackled east, a prisoner of its own geography. I simply had to go and investigate. What's up guys, Linden here, and we're back. It's good to be back. So I'm going to cut straight to the chase. What we're doing today in this video, well over the course of the next few days, is Linden's Guide to Estonia. Yeah, so I've finally grown some tars, booked out, even despite the flight not being from Birmingham, and we are off to one of the former Soviet republics, which has now reclaimed its identity. So that means, for my sins, I'm in Luton. So let me get out of the car, take a piss, and we'll rock up at Greg's or McDonald's, whichever one. See you guys in a minute. Now, a little spoiler alert for you all. They didn't have either. I had to settle for a bento. How disappointing. And we're off. Well, by off, I mean we're here. I'll give you an update in a sec. Alright guys, we are in the Airbnb now. We have landed and arrived in Tallinn. Finally. I don't know what made today so tiring, but it just was. In any case, this room is lovely. I will give you a tour in just a second, but let me explain. So I paid, you know, a decent, what I'd expect to pay in sort of Western Europe for it, and I thought to myself, oh well, Tallinn's an up-and-coming destination. It's going to be, you know, your usual room, stuff like that. Nah, check this out. So, all exposed structures, I got a fan, I got a nice painting, and, whoa, I hope you're not afraid of heights. Look at that. Proper little loft going on here, man. So anyway, what's the plan for tonight? The plan for tonight is not essentially to show you guys anything unless I stumble upon it. So there probably will be something, but don't be insulted if there's not, because what you'll instead see is in a few minutes time, you'll just get me skipping to tomorrow. That's how these vlogs go. You know this, you know that it's very ad hoc. It's very, it's my guide, it's my experience. So, I am gonna clean myself up, freshen up for those of you who were there in 2016 and saw that disastrous Mallorca vlog, and then go to the pub. So, I've been walking probably about a kilometre, and there's barely any pubs. Now, I'm not saying that in the way of an Englishman, where all I want to do is drink. And seconds later, as if I spoke it into existence, I found one. Oh, that's beautiful. Wow. First time was so nice, I had to do it twice. I mean, this is mental to me. So over here you've got Troika, something very Russian, and then fucking Baskin Robbins. This is where East and West shake hands. You can already see that. I mean, with the Catholic and Orthodox churches just intertwined with each other. You'll see more on that tomorrow. Another pint of tanker. Fucking magnificent. However, there is one problem that I have seen. What the fuck is that? Estonia, I love you, but you're letting the side down by letting that be in your pub. Don't know what you're doing there. Right, so that's the pub done. It was a bit of an English pub. It was it was an Irish pub, but they had UK TV and stuff like that. It was good. They had Estonian beer, but I needed something a bit more, so I've been to the off-licence. And I got myself some Estonian beer, some Tumuhit and some kvass. Now, I've been to Russia, but I've never tried kvass. Tonight's the night.
Super. Yksi sakulager pallon. Aitäh.
So tonight has evolved quickly. Next thing I know, I'm at the docks and I've got an Estonian friend and he's gone up to get me some hooch and a drink called claret. Stay tuned, folks. This could get interesting. Right, I'm on a fucking springy giraffe with soplika, Polish alcohol, hooch, as this fucker describes it. Man, that's fucking beautiful. That's fucking beautiful. That'll do. So referring to my earlier point, what I find really interesting is you got this private real estate development here, and then you've got this old Soviet monolith, all within eyeshot. Where are my manners? Good morning from Tallinn, from the Baltic Sea, from the Gulf of Finland. I got a little too drunk last night, so this is my hangover cure right here. But what a nice one it is. Nice cold Baltic air. It's good for the soul, it's good for the heart. Let's go. I'm on a mission now to find some food. Just something, you know, I've already had a coffee and that's helped a bit. So let's find some food now. Hopefully something warm, something good for the soul. We'll see. So what I didn't realise until I just got here and saw it on Google Maps is that this building here used to be a prison during the Soviet Union. Apparently executions were carried out here. You know, prisoners of war, prisoners of the state, political prisoners were held here where I stand. It's mental, because again, it doesn't feel like a former Soviet state, but you can see it. It's all very real. Mental. So what you're seeing here is what used to be a concert hall that the Soviets built. It was their idea of what they wanted Soviet Estonia to look like. You can clearly see that it's obviously erasing all of sort of local vernacular, any local culture. It's just concrete, metal, and bereft of all soul. Couldn't get more words out. Lovely. Never let it be said this channel ain't authentic. Now I can't really go further or in, I imagine, because it's packed to the tits with asbestos, but I'll try and get as good a view as I can. Now what I do like is this feature here, with the arches and things like that. It reminds me of like the cascades in Yerevan and things. I mean, again, you can see just how sort of reflective of the general Soviet vision of the future is. Although a relic now reclaimed by the Estonian people, you can clearly see the quixotic vision behind the building. You can see how it looks out to the Baltic Sea, you can see how it was built in symmetric form, you can see how it was a modernist dream. However, the reason modernism died is because modernism failed to do one thing: reflect the local vernacular and the local people's voices, which it now does through the form of street art. Good evening. It's a much more peaceful evening tonight than it was last night, when I fucked around and found out a little bit too hard with Estonian vodka. Now, little fun fact for you. As it turns out, Estonia has a population of 1.3 million, about the same as Birmingham. 300,000 of them are Russian. And it just so happens that luckily I speak a bit of Russian. That's coming really helpful. Now, obviously I don't want to speak Russian here, because that's the language of the old Soviet Union. And I want to speak Estonian because it's Estonia, but it is helpful. This machine here has been my absolute best friend. It is good coffee. It's from a machine. I don't have to be awkward and interact. As much as I do like interacting, it's, you know, Sometimes it's nice just to stand at a machine and get a coffee. Good morning from Old Tallinn. So, my stomach hurt, I was hungry, and there was this guy at a stand just selling almonds. Selling almond, right? I tried one of them, they're flavoured, good stuff. So good that I walked 50 metres down, turned back on myself, and got this traditional Estonian drink I've completely forgotten the name of, but oh, it's fucking lovely. I was worried it was going to be that fucking cherry vodka again, but it's not. So yeah, this is my breakfast. Lovely. And then these here are the flavoured almonds. It says the flavour's just Van Tallinn, so I mean, I don't know what it tastes like. I guess it just tastes like Tallinn. Funnily enough, I haven't taken a bite out of Tallinn in a hot minute. Yeah, it doesn't look exactly edible, you know? Stone, stuff like that. But if this is as close as you can get, I like it. Now, this is unrelated to Estonia or Tallinn in any way. But Venerable Pope Pius XII, the man I had great admiration for, an incredible Catholic and an incredible Pope, he said that feeding the birds is a form of prayer. So that's why I always do it. Here you go, just for you. So I peeled my way into a Ukrainian restaurant. And of course, as is tradition, I've got some vodka. I think it's called Linden'S, it's from Ukraine. So, budno. Beautiful. That's good stuff. Nice little herring plate. Here we can see just how deep and storied the history of Estonia is. This is a writer, Eduard Vilder. He was born in the late 20th century, no, 19th century, sorry. Lived through the early 20th. He was an Estonian diplomat in the end for the first Estonian state. Lived in Berlin for times and was an outspoken critic of Tsarist rule. A real show of how defiant and plucky and, you know, just generally badass the Estonians are. Nice. So I've perched myself outside of Kino Sopris over here. It's an interesting building because it's a perfect counterexample to that other concert hall over on the docks, the one that's all been abandoned and left to ruin and that stands as just a monolith to failure. This, however, is a perfect example of Soviet architecture done right. It was built in 1955 and it was named Sopris, friendship. It sort of really follows the forms of that Stalinist grandeur influenced by Art Deco. And it's why it still stands today, because it is a piece of beautiful architecture that slots itself really nicely into the old town. And it is beautiful. It doesn't look out of place. I mean, it's different, but it belongs, and that's the difference. Most of you are going to see Hotel Vero and think, well, that's just another corporate hotel. But that's where you'd be wrong. Or at least, that's what the Soviets would want you to think. Now, what's so important about that hotel is, for many years, not many people knew this, but there was an unwelcome guest on the top floor of that hotel. That unwanted guest was the KGB. So Hotel Vero effectively became the forward operating base for the KGB. You know, Western diplomats and VIPs that go and stay there, they'd bug their plates, they'd even poison them, they'd be lurking all on that 24th floor. In effect, if you wanted to come to the Soviet Union, to Soviet Tallinn, you'd be forced to go and stay in Hotel Vero, and they'd listen to and watch your every move. Mental. Places like that cinema and like Hotel Vero existing so close to Old Tallinn, it proves a point. It proves, unless it, went against them for any reason, the Soviets weren't interested in erasing history necessarily. It only played second fiddle to their vision of the future. Now, what I've noticed about Tallinn a lot is that people are tired, and it's not in the way that they're unwelcoming, they're quite the opposite. They're incredibly hospitable people. But I think they're tired of just being occupied. They want to be left alone, and there's a collective societal sadness and grief over this. You know, you can see that people want to look west here, and this country wants to look west. It's in the EU, it's in NATO, and in many ways it does look west, and it is a Western country. Make no mistake on that, it's Nordic, it's the tech capital of Europe, but it is shackled east by their noisy neighbour to the east, and it's shackled there, and it can't seem to escape. As a matter of fact, the more they try to escape and look west, the more Russia seems to ramp up efforts against Estonia looking west. And I think everyone fears suffering the same fate as Ukraine. You know, it's not something that can be described in a news article or shown in a photo. It's a collective societal conscious. You have to feel it. There's no news article long enough that can describe it. And it's sad. It's sad that a nation that's only been free for 34 years has to fear this fate. And with that, my very short trip to Estonia had come to an end. But I'd learnt a lot about the meaning of being so close to Russia and yet wanting to look to the west. It takes a very special kind of resilience, or sisu in Finnish. The Estonians have this in bucket loads, and as I was told by an Estonian local, it's even more dangerous than sisu. How do I know? Well, I actually drank it. This is one for the outtakes. I think I've found the worst toilet in Estonia, perhaps even Europe.